fantasy sports platform PrizePicks partnering with Polymarket to let users wager on real-time sports and cultural moments as both all of these kinds of things expanding into regulated U.S. prediction markets. Joining us right now is PrizePicks CEO Mike Ybarra. Good morning to you. We've been talking about sort of this move and also the relationship between sports and prediction markets writ large. Do they ultimately converge? Is that what this is all about?
Well, first off, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. You know, PrizePicks, we're excited. This week, we're announcing prediction markets is coming, rolling out this week to the United States. And I think it complements our business very well. You know, I don't think it's one takes over the other. This is about expanding the number of customers that we have for our product, but also enabling us to enter new states such as Washington and welcome millions and more people into the PrizePicks environment.
So explain what you do relative to, for example, some of the perhaps even bigger sports betting sites.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people think about, is prediction markets just like online sports betting? And there's a couple of key distinctions there. In online sports betting, those operators create the lines and they build in profit into those lines. You're playing against the house. Prediction markets is peer-to-peer. And what that means is, it's supply and demand. Is it A or is it B? There is no against the house market there. And I think that's very important to understand.
When you think about this baseball scandal that we're looking at, or you think about even Brian Armstrong at the end of that conference call last week, rattling off a bunch of key terms that effectively people were betting on, and he was doing that, I think, to troll folks, less to manipulate the market. Does that concern you about how these markets can work and how manipulatable they may very well be?
Well, I think it's important to make sure that we partner both at the state level and the federal level, along with the leagues as well. You know, PrizePicks is the only online sports operator or daily fantasy sports operator that has a FCM license by the NFA and the CFTC, the federal regulation that happens for prediction markets. And that's important to us, not only to be legal, but also the regulatory approach and the long-term viability of the business.
No, I appreciate that. I'm asking maybe a slightly different question, which is when you can bet on everything, invariably there are going to be people who are insiders that historically have not been insiders, right? It's not like being a CEO of a company. Every public company CEO, for the most part, hopefully knows what the rules are. They know what they can and cannot do. If I'm betting on, where the wedding is going to be this weekend, and the florist knows the answer, the florist may not know what the rules are, and the florist may tip off their friend.
Yeah, well, at PrizePicks, we're not going to offer everything that's out there. We're going to make sure we curate what's available that's in the interests of our players, but also something that we believe is fair for everybody to participate in. But your point is right. There's a lot of regulation happening. We work very closely and very mindfully and carefully with both regulators at the state level and the federal level. This is an incredibly fast-moving technology and industry right now, and there's opportunities on both sides to continue that collaboration and make sure that it's fair for everybody playing.
Do you think, by the way, that for example, Major League Baseball should shut down the ability for folks to be able to bet on pitches?
Well, I think there's a discussion between the leagues and all of the operators on how to best ensure the integrity of the game, but also enable the millions of fans that enjoy, whether it be daily fantasy sports or prediction markets.
So where do you land on the actual answer to that then?
I think some areas we can work together to limit the betting or the contests in certain scenarios.
Pitches. Let's do pitches together then.
Yeah, pitches is something Major League Baseball announced with several operators. I think the industry should embrace scenarios like that.
And then longer term, and this is sort of where I was going maybe with my first question, do you see a demonstrable convergence between the prediction markets and betting sites? I've always thought long term that these folks, everybody would come together, maybe get bought out, or there'd be a whole bunch of mergers. Given that I think from the outside, from the customer experience, it may actually not be that different whether you're betting on the house, betting against the house per se, versus betting on those markets. And because you have a group of people, an audience that is basically wants to bet one way or the other, that all of those options will ultimately be available, but they'd likely end up becoming available on one or two or three big platforms as opposed to the way it's set up now.
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of new players in the market. And the more competition that comes in the United States, frankly, the more innovation and the more customer value you'll see. At PrizePicks, it's important for us to have a single app experience across daily fantasy sports and prediction markets. But we welcome the competition. You know, we hope that a lot of new people come in here and it'll push us to innovate more and, frankly, drive a lot more customer value.